Hello and welcome on into our BTN Student U Indiana Women's Soccer pregame show. Sam Neidermann alongside Casey Roehl, breaking down a couple of big wins for the Hoosiers last weekend in California. A win over Pepperdine as well as Loyola Marymount. Lots of positives to take away from last weekend in Cali. Let's start with the offense. Set pieces were the big key. 3 of the 4 goals scored for Indiana off of free kicks. What was working in that regard for the Hoosiers?
Well, it's what the Hoosiers use best that they have on their side. They have height. They have a lot of height in the front. They have Maya Piper, who stands just above 5'7". They have a lot of young strikers who create havoc on the opposing back lines. They found in that 3 times, as you mentioned, out of 4 goals this weekend off of set pieces. And offense created goals, defense on the backside allowed those leads to stay, and it created 2 non-conference wins against 2 programs which we thought might be top 25 teams entering the year.
That defense certainly was the glue for Indiana over the weekend, and it started between the pipes. Bethany Koppel, the goalkeeper, lots of big saves.
I'll tell you one stat you should know. There have been 2 players in Indiana history since 2007 to be freshmen that have played every single minute in a single season, and Bethany Koppel is one of the 2. Last season, she was a Big Ten Freshman of the Week in net. She played every minute last year for the Hoosiers, and this weekend, she came up big against Pepperdine, whose offense is one of the top in the entire nation. Loyola Marymount's no scoff either, and really going from goal to the back line, defensive backs and center backs had their match as well.
The star of the weekend for Indiana, though, Anna Lee Leitner. Big Ten Offensive Player of the Week this week. 2 game-winning goals in the 2 matches.
The Austrian international has been clutch. She has 3 goals. All 3 of them have been game winners. And to do it against non-conference opponents and against goaltenders you've never faced before, that just emphasizes how big Leitner has been, and it should be the same thing with Kentucky and Kansas State this weekend.
Yeah, looking forward to those matches. Back in Bloomington, rounding out the non-con portion of the schedule for Indiana. So what are the keys as we look ahead?
Well, it's the Hoosiers' first time they're in Bloomington since Miami of Ohio. They've only played 1 game here. They're 1-0, so that's something you can take away. 2, Kentucky is an opponent which is very dangerous. They have a lot of front scores in the back, really good netminder. And with Kansas State, we talked with Amy Burberry moments ago. She had said it's kind of an unknown commodity. So you have a non-conference opponent in Kentucky, which we all know the rivalry between Kentucky and IU, and just sports in general. Then there's Kansas State, which you don't know. So it depends a lot on what works with Kentucky, and they can see whether or not it goes well with Kansas State.
Well, we'll see what happens this weekend in Bloomington. It starts on Friday for IU against Kentucky, and then Kansas State on Sunday. Casey will be on the call of those games. You can catch him on Big Ten Network Student U. For Casey Roehl, I'm Sam Neidermann. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you next week.